technical and business guidance, and also we would like to help them obtaining further support, for example, from investors or business multiplier growing their business. And for this, we have a number of measures, including the creation of a BAS alumni network that we would like to start, and that will have company teaming up and connecting with other companies in Europe. So, as I mentioned, it's a bit cut there, but basically our instruments are either feasibility studies or demonstration projects. So the feasibility studies, that is the light green block, corresponds to a lower level of market and application readiness, and they are activities where companies can consolidate their idea, both in technical terms but also in business terms, and consolidate the engagement of the users and prospective customers through, for example, the development of a proof of concept. When the idea is more mature, either because this has been mature during a feasibility study or because the company has already a mature case, they can put forward a proposal for a pilot project. So a pilot project is where the solution is developed, is tested, and is also demonstrated with the user. So there is really a feedback during the demonstration, the pilot stage of the user, of some of the prospective users, whether the solution satisfies their requirements. And then we have a new stage that is the growth, where we can support companies that have already delivered their initial service to a primary market to further develop their solution, enrich it with new elements in order to address the needs of new markets. For example, one could move from the agriculture sector to the energy sector or to a dual-use platform, etc. So this is achieved in the so-called growth projects. As I said at the beginning, the BAS program exists since 2008, so we have been able to help a lot of projects. Now here we have taken a snapshot of about 300 demonstration projects and looked into, let's say, the impact, the socio-economic impact that they were able to provide. I think one important number that I would like to remark is the fact that already during the project, these teams have been able to sell their solution to the customers. And this is because quite unique in the program is indeed the opportunity to support also the pilot stage. So really the trial of the solution together with the customer, the refinement to make sure that it addresses the customer's needs. Another very important number is let's say the number of partnerships established. That is quite remarkable, and this is because the companies, in order to deliver their solution, have teamed up not only with other suppliers and with other solution providers, but also with potential customers in order to fill in all the value chain. And this is very important because it means that this has enabled them to reach further markets and therefore consolidating their business proposition. One success story that I am happy to tell is about a Finnish company that made use of the program and is Awake AI. Maybe you know them. They have developed through BAS a digital marketplace for smart ports and smart shipping. So they have started with this idea of using a number of data, Earth observation data, but also other data, local and in situ data, in order to derive a marketplace for information, for example, about ship arrival prediction, weather warnings, dark ship detection. And this platform was initially provided to a set of customers, port authorities, terminal operators, and they have obtained a number of good results. Also, they were delivering their service to Fintraffic for the maritime single window in Finland. And starting with this success, they have been able to build further and to grow and internationally. Actually, we put them in contact with Wallenius Marine, which is a member of, cooperating with ESA, a member of the Maritime Bus Task Force. I will come to that in a minute. And they were able to partner also with ABB, and they started the CARDIS. The CARDIS is a project that builds on Commander and offer a solution for tracking ships end-to-end. So actually they have increased very much their customer bases, and they have come up with the first system optimizing the entire ship voyage, and this has also a very significant impact in terms of reduction of ship emission. So this is I think one of our, let's say, clearest and best successes, and that I wanted to mention to start with. So the number and the topics that could be addressed by using space are very many. Some of them are delivering, in addition to solid economic returns and solid business models, also environmental benefits. The CARDIS was one of them, no? And we could find in this category of sustainable mobility. So we have mapped the projects that delivered green impact, and this include a range of potential activities from sustainable mobility, energy, agriculture, protection of ecosystem, clean water, and of course this number is increasing, as well as the number of projects that deliver SDG benefits. I mentioned before the Maritime Task Force, and Wallenius Willems is belonging to one of them. And I think one of the aspects of our program is that it tries to matchmake the space and non-space ecosystem, because it's about exploiting space and supporting companies of space, teaming up also sometimes with companies that don't use space yet, to deliver solutions for different sectors of the economy: energy, mobility, dual use and security, or other sectors, health, etc. And in order to do that, we are partnering with more than 100 players, being it federation of organization, being it corporates or other players in different sectors, in order to understand sometimes what are the market trends, and also put them in contact with the companies interested to develop solutions for them. We will launch also a new task force this year on logistic and resilient infrastructure, and the second one on insurtech and fintech. But we have already 4 that are working very well on energy, smart and green cities, maritime, and bioeconomy. Actually, I wanted to mention that one Finnish logistic cluster, Limova, has already agreed to be part of the Logistic and Resilient Infrastructure Task Force, so we are happy with that. And they are also engaging with several players of the Finnish ecosystem that might be interested to work on this. So in terms of concretely of opportunities, we have open calls to which companies can respond anytime with proposals, putting in proposals and ideas. And there are of different kind. Let's say there is one open call for proposal for kickstart activities. These are small activities, seed funding, 75% funded. So the company receives a 75K in order to develop a concept and the feasibility of a space-based application concept. And then there is the open call, the core, the open call for feasibility studies, proof of concept studies, and demonstration projects. We will soon also open the call for growth projects and for enabling activities. That is not in the slide, but it was in the previous one. So enabling activities are activities that have for applications or solutions that have a business prospect, but a longer time to market roadmap. So it could be all what is about technology transfer, but also about new technologies that are not yet mature that could deliver solution in the future. And then we have dedicated thematic calls. And some of these thematic calls that I'm going to mention in a minute are in the area of safety and security. So in order to zoom in a bit on that, I would like to show you an example of projects that we have supported on safety and security. This one is not with a Finnish company, but it's about a topic that I think is very much of interest to the ecosystem here, and maybe to you as well, that is about drones. So this project, we supported it in partnership with the European Defence Agency. I was in the room this morning, so I learned about a lot of interest related to that and to these topics. So this is a service that uses drones for protecting against CBRN threats. I've mentioned already the logistic task force, so I would like to mention quickly a set of initiatives that we are pursuing in the domain of safety and security, and if you are interested, of course, feel free to approach me. The first one is about wildfires response and preparedness. And the second one, and the other two that are part of our safety and security roadmap are the first one about the Arctic. We are consolidating the topics of this call that we are going to issue in 2026 that goes from maritime security to permafrost instability, wildfires, and other topics of interest to the Arctic region. And the second one is about adversarial threats. So this ranges from protection from GNSS interference, jamming and spoofing, to detection and identification of uncooperative drones, enhanced resilient communication, and authenticity and integrity of satellite imagery. This is an example, but I will skip. Another topic that I wanted to mention to you, because we have a lot of initiatives here, and it ties very into the potential interest of the ones working on geospatial, which I also heard a lot today. So we have a task force on bioeconomy with a number of actors, and we have already developed some calls on forestry and agriculture. And the next one that is opening in February is about sustainable fisheries with the support of a number of organizations. So this will open very, very soon and could be of interest to the region or to some of you. And we will also have an initiative dedicated to water, so to water sustainability, water security, and water in cities and water finance. We will have an event hosted in ESTEC, which is the Technological Center of ISA in May. So, of course, if you are interested, you are much welcome to join. It will be nice weather there in that time as well. So this concludes a bit the presentation. We have these initiatives, but of course they are just a sample. They are not all of the ones that we will develop during 2026, but I think what is important to recall is also that there is an always open call. So you are very welcome if you have good ideas to send them anytime, and of course Also something that I wanted to mention is that you will need to also to connect to the Finnish Space Agency. So we have Tina here in the room today, because exactly because the support is very important in order to be able to participate to the program. And thank you very much. If there are any questions, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, as was said, my name is Kati Tahvonen, and I come from the European Union Agency for the Space Program, which is an EU body, EU agency, and we are working in close cooperation with the European Commission. And Cassini is actually a program run by the European Commission, but USPA, as an organization under them, we are supporting the practical implementation of many of the components. So Cassini was created to support the whole life journey of the space enthusiastic into a successful company. And I will summarize what kind of components and what kind of opportunities Cassini program is providing for you. So to summarize, Cassini is a 1 billion program. As I said, it's a European Union initiative, and we are working in all the space components which are listed there. So we support any ideas that is utilizing one of these space components, meaning, for example, some company using Copernicus data, the other one GNSS EGNOS, one company having a great innovation in GovSatcom or secure connectivity, or nowadays also we support SSA, space situational awareness ideas. But what we are not doing, unlike ESA, is if you have ideas about moon exploration, for example. So this is then out of range of Cassini activities. So this is the whole journey, and these are the different things we have to offer for you. Everything starts with youth. So last summer we demonstrated space camps, which is 1 to 2 weeks teenager space camp. After that, EU Space Academy is free of charge online learning program for anyone who is interested in learning more about the space components or how to run a successful company. I will tell more about that, free of charge for anyone. Hackathons we run twice a year. Then we have an idea competition called Cassini Challenges. And then once you are having more established company already ongoing, you can come to us and apply to Cassini Business Accelerator. And we do active matchmaking with investors and the companies, and also run an investor network and try to make sure that there is enough of money in the European space sector that the companies can have access to. To summarize how the Cassini program is looking like from the success side, we started 2021. And our companies who have participated in different parts of the Cassini offer, they are actually quite successful. So in the graph below, you can see how many rounds the companies were raising money from the investors, and you can see also the value that they raised. And the figure is nicely going exponentially up. And this is, of course, what we want to make sure in the future, that our companies are successful and get the funding to grow bigger. Then I'm giving a snapshot of each of the Cassini components for you. First, EU Space Academy. As I said, this is a free of charge online learning program where anyone who wants to learn more about space can register and watch one of the 120 online lessons about space technology or business development. Plus, anyone who has registered is entitled of free of charge one-to-one mentoring. We are having an expert pool of 30, 40 experts in the sector, and anyone can have a catch up with them. So use it. The mentoring hours are available. At the moment, we have 3,000 registered users, and the growth is maybe 200 people a week. Also, to provide something what Finland has done here, University of Tampere piloted last autumn like a course that was utilizing the content available in the EU Space Academy, and you could gain like some university credits even if you did the whole program. Cassini hackathons, we organize it twice a year. Unfortunately today I don't have the dates and locations yet. They are published this week, I learned. But good news is that in this competition, Finland has been very successful. So last year, EU Space for Consumer Experiences whole hackathon winner was coming from Finland, and maybe you recognize some of the faces there. Altogether, we have been running this a couple of years, and some of the teams that were competing in hackathon, they have established successful companies. 6 of them at least are still alive, which is a nice achievement. Cassini Challenge is an idea competition. You win at the end cash money, which you can use in a way you like. There is no commitment in that if you are successful. And we have already given about 5 million euro out as prize money. And the companies who have been winning, they say that the best part of the whole competition was the visibility among the investors. And here you can see some of the success stories and some of the funding, what the successful Cassini Challenges companies have received. So visibility plus money is available. And I have good news. The competition just opened, and you have time to apply by 26th of March. And this year we are giving prizes of 100,000 euros, 12 of those. So it is really worth of putting your application in. You should have already some customers and some kind of product to be able to apply, but if you have that, please do, because the chances of winning are quite good. And there is an information webinar next week, Thursday, 29th of January, 1600, so they give you tips how to apply. And last year, Aavus and Polar Orbital, they won the prizes. Yes, congrats once more. Cassini Business Accelerator is a classical acceleration program, and Finnish companies have been taking part there as well. This is a program that is opening twice a year, and people give the feedback that it's very intense. They enjoy it. You get a lot of one-to-one mentoring. And at the end, everyone receives 75,000 euros, equity free again. You can use it as you wish. Good news is that the application process opened yesterday. So please apply. I can give you some numbers from the previous batch. About 20% of the companies that applied got in. And many companies, they apply several times, but yeah, try your luck. Please send that application. Cassini matchmaking is a tool where we are matching the successful companies and the investors. We do it all the time. There is an online tool. You can register your company and express that, okay, I would need funding X, and also the investors can set up their profile and say that, okay, I'm seeking for this kind of company, so maybe I will find it there. On top of that, we also go to 10 different locations physically every year, and here you can see some of the next events that we are going to, maybe Stockholm in March, with the theme Nordic Space and Defense Summit is interesting for you. And then we are also going to Vilnius in this region. Last slide for today is this one. Please subscribe to our newsletter, because then you get all the relevant information and get to know when the calls are opening and you don't miss anything. And we try to put there all the opportunities in the space sector, not only the Cassini and EU ones. Thanks a lot, and please come and talk to us. We have a stand upstairs.
So, hi, I'm Mika Kostamo. My name is on the first slide, but I'm happy to announce that we had a small update on the update of what's in the program, and we managed to get the head of entrepreneurship and business incubation from ESA as participating, Cornelis Eldring here, and he will tell you the wider scope of the access and also give you the idea of what happens in the European level and maybe offer some historic perspective as well. I started here actually in this building in the project 1 year ago, so my scope is a bit shorter, but then we also have ESA PIC here, as Kaisa is here presenting, took part in the abstract sending earlier. So, but this is the first slide, and now I will switch actually to Niels' content. You have the clicky thing here as well.
Yes, thank you, Mika, and I will hand back to you after a couple of slides as well, of course. Very happy to be here in Aalto. Hi Rita, good to see you as well, so you're on the program. I'm going to explain a little bit because, of course, end of last year we had ministerial at ESA, in which we announced our new program. Rita, I'm not sure to what extent you talked about access, because it was a little bit later.
An introduction.
Extremely broad. And I will be also extremely broad. So, but at least to place a little bit the different tools we have actually for the business community in our member states who want to be engaged with space, whether it's upstream, downstream, midstream. We are here, of course, to support. Now, of course, Rita already explained her program, which is very important in terms of bringing actors together, really also on the downstream application. I'll tell you a little bit more about the program, which deals also with the let's say, the construction of companies and the support to newcomer companies in the space sector. And we have some tools for that. So access, this slide you have presented. So I have presented this slide. This one you haven't presented, exactly. So this is the next slide after Rita. So Rita was really zooming in on the BAS, the Business Application Space Solutions element. And where I am sitting in is the element called Scale Up. And Scale Up represents more like a toolbox for companies, either for entrepreneurs, which actually do not have a company yet and just start with a company. That's where we have the ESA Business Incubation Center, the ESA BICS. We also have recently launched VLab Network. Mika will tell a little bit more about that exactly, but basically we focus here on supporting teams that have commerciable institutions, universities, but also corporates that have commerciable technologies, but they still need to be a bit more developed in order to make it susceptible to be taken up by either an entrepreneur, a corporate, an investor, you name it. That's typically where the VLabs are looking into. We have technology brokers. We don't have them at the moment in Finland, but we have quite an amount through Europe, and they're basically, like the name implies, matchmakers between industrial players, well-established industrial players. Either because there's a challenge in the non-space sector, but actually a space technology could offer a solution, so we introduce them to a space technology provider. Can also be nowadays, especially, and I'll come back to that in my last slide, the other way around, that actually there's a space player who struggles with a challenge, and there happens to be already a technical solution in the non-space sector. So to build a bridge between those players, and even within the sector, so space players amongst each other. And then of course we have, it's partly also of the incubation effort part, that we also help companies which are sort of moving from the startup phase into the scale-up phase with an acceleration program. And last but not least, there's the marketplace, which is a way where we attract venture capital into the equation of, you have government, ESA as an anchor customer, you have of course a provider, but you also have investors which are interested to invest. Because the new space economy is a new market, it's an emerging market where also now more and more investors take an interest. I will say this, however, I think this is very important, because I noticed that recently there's a lot of trend that we keep on talking about investment, but I mean, last year we selected our 2000th startup company in the ESA BIC network, and still the biggest part of our startup population are actually companies that are not getting investments. In fact, they are very sustainable, they're small, medium enterprise or smaller, and they already are profitable, but they remain relatively small. And that too is an important aspect also of European business. Yes, the unicorns, they get a lot of light and they're cool and attractive and also very appealing to the world. So we also have to sometimes be aware that players outside of Europe are interested in buying those unicorns, which is fantastic for the entrepreneurs, but not always fantastic for our own European knowledge base. But the biggest part are the slightly smaller companies, which maybe don't get so much attention, but are very, very important elements in the backbone of the European economy. So that's just as a remark. Now, the question was also like, okay, how does this all link together? So basically how we look at it is, these are all building bricks in a bigger ecosystem. And this doesn't need to be sequential when I go through it. It's not that we have a company A which starts all the way at the ideation and then it follows entirely through to the end, to the market entry with all these programs. It can happen, and it happens. But actually at any stage in this development cycle, companies can join one of our programs, one of our program elements. And so basically how we roughly ordered it, there's a phase where there's a lot about ideation. Is this technology, which problem are we addressing? Is this anyway investable or commercial technology? That's really within the ideation phase. And typically it's also somewhere where we do see VLabs and to some extent incubators interesting into it. Then of course the actual incubation, that's more the act of putting companies together, they learn from each other, they help each other out, they form a community, and they really have to build the company. So it's not so much about the technology. Maybe here it is about the technology. In VLab, it's really about the technology. But in the bigs, it's not so much about the technology. It's much more about creating the company and ensuring that you have a proper business model. The challenge here is not, and I do believe that's actually a challenge probably for the future as well. It's not only about technological development, but it's also about the business modeling. How can I compete with maybe a very similar technology on the market? Then of course later on we have validation and growth. It's typically where we see brokers, our brokers active, and then market entries where the acceleration takes place. Now, it's not that theoretical as it's put here. Sometimes we have projects which are, you could argue, incubation, but they still need a lot of support from the VLab. Sometimes we have projects which are getting close to market entry, but it generates a spin-off with inexperienced entrepreneurs, and then the incubator comes in. So there's a little bit of a back and forth. It's not as static as it is. It's just to give you an idea. Take a picture if you want to digest it more. But it gives a bit of an idea that all these parts are part of a strategy. Again, it's maybe nice for the picture, but we have all the different elements of the toolbox, the toolkit we offer on display here, with some, of course, of the things we achieved last year, our 2000 startup company, and we're selecting every year 230 more startups. The VLabs are really ramping up. It's, of course, a very fresh program, very new. 2 years operational now, going very fast, and here we have the other parts. Now, I think I'm going to skip over this because I want to save some time. And I think you're going to talk about this partly as well, or not? Okay, maybe then, to be very brief, because I don't want to take too much time away. VLabs overview. So we have multiple VLabs. The great thing about VLabs is there's a lot of international exchange between the VLabs, because this is not so much company focused. It's more research or R&D, commercial R&D focused. And each of the VLabs has their own focal point. So it can be definitely, it's much more international, I would say. Whereas with the ESA Bigs, it's very think global, act local, so very much locally focused on nascent entrepreneurship. The old story of you can try to bring entrepreneurs from all over the world to one place, but you can also look in your own backyard and find the entrepreneur which is already there. The diamond in the rough, which needs to have some polishment, and then it turns to be a diamond, and it saves everybody a lot of costs. The entrepreneur, the government, the university, when you actually reap what is growing already in your backyard instead of trying to get it from across the other side of the globe. So that's the core thing of incubation. I don't want to bore you too much with the numbers, but you can see that, for instance, patents is an important indicator for the innovativeness of all these different startup companies. Obviously, also the European Commission, very interested in job creation and things like that. It's not that these are not unimportant figures. Let me see. Yeah, we are actually Financial Times ranked. There's since a couple of years a Financial Times ranking on incubators in Europe, 150 of them. We're currently ranking number 10 as a collective, and number 2 in terms of networked incubators. It's a bit dodgy what this now precisely means, but for instance, we're compared to Z-Square, they're number 1 in the UK, but they're a national network, and we're an international network, so the question is to what extent can you still compare that? Again, standard offers, what any incubator offers in Europe, not just the ESA Bigs. The only difference is that as ESA Big we offer, we have a bit of a procurement approach. So we offer an 80 kilo euros, depending on which country, of non-equity funding. Basically, we're buying your first product, but the cool thing is you keep your ownership. So we're buying it in order to make sure that startup companies build what they intend to build in terms of a business and in terms of a product, but you get to keep the product and we don't take any ownership. Last slide maybe. Obviously, locally, incubation centers have a strong service network, but we also elevated the service network to an international level. So typically companies like ISI, which of course is here today as well, Airbus, Thales, Alenia, but also consultancy firm like Nova Space, they're there to help the startup companies offering discounted prices or even for free. Altair, for instance, is offering simulation software for free to startup companies for the value of 300 kilo euros. And they do that, of course, because they hope that the startup companies they help today are good customers in the future. Siemens recently signed up as well. They also provide simulation software. Future outlook, and this is actually the message I wanted to tell, is that if we look at the growth of the startup population in our ESA business incubation centers European-wide, we see that there's a strong inclination of upstream startup companies. And to date, it's already 26% of every company we select today is actually upstream oriented. So building rockets, building satellites or components, software systems, space traffic systems, these kind of things. And so it is becoming very clear that whereas we started 20 years ago, very much on technology transfer from space to non-space, we cycled through a period of heavy data, like thanks to Copernicus and Galileo. Obviously, still 50% of our companies are data-driven, so downstream applications. But already 25% of the companies are upstream, so hardware stuff, bringing it into space. ESA Aerospace, and that's interesting. Started as a startup company, already international, starting in Germany, testing in Sweden, now launching from Norway. It's an international company, but it's still a very early stage company. Fast growing though, and launching. And obviously something perhaps which, yes, people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos broken open that door, but now of course there's the European way of doing entrepreneurship, which is what we see today happening. And the idea is that there's a new economy emerging, from spin-off to downstream to an in-space economy. All these things being produced to have at the low level or on an orbit level, to have new companies creating new kind of businesses. Good example is, for instance, Space Locker. They are the new Airbnb, so to say, to rent out satellite space for companies. But that's why I think it's also important to realize that we need to also attract the talents to engage with this new market. And as I said at the beginning, it's my firm belief that maybe the biggest innovations in the next 5 to 10 years is actually not so much the technology, but it's the business model. It's the business model that has to compete with other industries across the globe, and especially also with the United States, for instance. And so one of the things we do already since some time, but now becomes more meaningful, is our collaboration with SAMS, which is the Global Alliance of Management Education, of which Aalto University, where we are today, are also a full partner. And we really attract business education students, so the future decision makers, into the program. We also, in collaboration with business schools, teach current managers in the space sectors to update basically new business models in the space. And we are engaging in research projects, but not just engineering and science research projects, but also business administration research projects. So what does scalability in the space sector look like? What does competition in a global space economy look like? What is the new space economy, and what are the key drivers? So these are activities we really believe is important to, in the end of the day, bring the opportunities of space really to Europe and to you as either a decision maker, a nascent entrepreneur, an entrepreneur already, and as policymakers. It's also important for us to have this understanding. Anyway, I hope I wasn't going too fast. But with this, I hand over to Mika. Yes.
Does somebody recognize that metro, or saw it 8 years ago? So that was during the slush when the ESA Big Incubation started in Finland 8 years ago. So that was the metro promoting it. You can still see the commercial running on all the metro stations. It's been looping there for now 8 years. But don't ask too much about that. But coming back to the local scale activities, so that's all the companies that have been are now alumni, have been in ESA Big Finland, and these are the ones currently there. Some of them will be actually kicked out today. After this session in Klondike, there's a graduation ceremony for the latest batch. Kaisa will be running that, and I will be moving there as well after this. But just to show that there's a huge scale of activities, also the scope of the industries. You have Solar Foods focused on food production, from thin air basically. You have companies focused on cold technology, satellite navigation, mining, whatever, AI development, farming. So it's wide scale stuff you can have in space connection. In SFE Lab, which we kicked off last year, here we also are operating here in Aalto, but we have the same way collaboration as ESAPICs have. We collaborate with Vaasa University, Finnish Meteorological Institute, and Finnish Geospatial Research Center, and then we have local funders on top of the ESA funding provided for the FEE Lab. And also the partner entities are providing their own technology, infrastructure, and things for the program. What we're looking for, basically very short video, is geospatial technology. We want to make the research a reality on the business side. So we're looking for groundbreaking science technology with high commercial potential, meaning that we want to find something that is not just for one client, one use case, but could be in the future expanded or already existing, having a global marketplace, for example. Technologies, sensors, advanced computation, novel digital geospatial services. If you have something else that doesn't fit here, check the FEE Lab network. There might be other FEE Labs in Europe who have a call for that. Austria, for example, is industrial space technology development, so they have a different focus. We offer support, funding, over 100 hours of business and technical support, access to infrastructure, very big antennas in Sodankylä if you want to use them. Events, FEE Lab networking, we also collaborate with ESAPIC, so there's a lot of overlapping things. You need to fill one Word document to apply. Even reading it gives you an idea how ready you are as a business. And then what we have in the project is SharpNav, developing low PNT, and then we have Zero Gravity, building a thermal payload. So we actually have 100% upstream projects so far. We just selected new ones last week. Can't announce them yet because all the official stamps are missing. But we will announce that pretty soon, probably next month, if we get everything signed and ready and documented before that. And then just an idea, space is everywhere. Look at the EUSPA GNSS EO market. You will get hundreds of applications where you can apply space technology. So a lot of opportunities, and definitely not all of them are solved at the moment. And ESAPIC and ESAFEE Lab websites, you find more. And last QR code, if you are interested, there's an event in Stockholm in April. It's not open for registration yet, but it should be open this month. So thank you. Also on my side, we have a booth upstairs. ESAPIC has a booth there. And the next session in Klondike, if you want to hear more details on the ESAPIC activities. And now I think I hand over to GSTP program. There, but it depends a bit on their local requirements, what kind of cooperation they need. We can have in Finland, main applicant needs to be from Finland, some can partner. I can't directly read what are Poland's criteria, but I can link you to their, yeah. So, yeah, we work together and meet every couple of weeks. So. Yeah. There was some.
I would like to ask about like you in the presentation there was already partnerships to commercialize, to help startups commercialize their products. So do they have, do you have any other partnerships going on? Because I heard like you partner with research institutes as well that for startups. Could you also mention a little bit about that?
Yeah, it depends. In our program, you can, for example, allocate 30% to a research entity that is supporting your commercialization. As a contract sense, they're your subcontractor providing some of the development, but that can be funded through the program as well. But it varies on the details and like what is the scope and IP and stuff. So let's have one-to-one discussions to open. And then FEE Lab business incubation side, they are very straight program in the sense that if it fits in their space topic and they will provide for the applicant. So no collaborations.
One more.
Yeah, very good.
No, just a question about how is this program funded? Is it nationally or is it a national part of the ESA funding?
If you look at the whole program, basically everything, all the funding for ESA comes from countries. But basically that's in our program, it's partially nationally allocated funding, partially ESA funding, and then it's in, yeah, Tina can maybe explain the whole structure, but there's like 20 different programs.
Yeah, so both of the, so it's optional program. It means that the member state has to subscribe to the program, and then we basically, under the auspices of the member states and the delegation, we execute it together with local partners here in the region. Now it's true that, particularly also for the ISABIC and I think also VLab, we do it in partnership. So for instance, yes, we with respect to the ISABICs, we do it together with Aalto, because we also believe that Aalto is the right partner for this. Obviously, we had a tender years ago to establish that. And yes, also our Aalto is investing basically, in this case, in VLab
So
with
if you
ISABIC.
look, it's matching with the partners.
With manpower, with expertise, with the network. So yes, it's really a partnership that we do this. Yeah.
Let's have a bit more detail.
Thank you. I think these gentlemen will be here for
Yes.
the rest of the week, so you can catch up with them. Thank you so much. All right. So next we're gonna hear about the growth of deep tech firms, insights from the new space sector. Please, Eldridge, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone, once again. I know some of you might have seen me earlier today. I was wearing a different hat as a co-founder of SharpNav, but now I'm putting my academic hat as a doctoral student from the University of Vasa. So what I have here today is interesting research that we have been doing for the past few years. We decided to start looking into how new space companies grow. Is there an existing framework that is able to explain how this phenomenon works? So that's the main motivation that we did for this study. So a little bit on the deep tech. Usually academics, they define deep tech as technology or companies that are built on major scientific or engineering breakthroughs. And usually they have a few pillars just to explain how sort of this work. But if you take a look at this Venn diagram, you can see basically the deep tech is standing on the intersection of grand challenges, entrepreneurship and innovation. So most of the presentations today here has been about supporting these impact-driven innovations and then cutting-edge technologies, as well the advanced science and engineering. So I know this is not news to everyone here in the room, but just to give us a little bit of context. So new space basically represents this transition from the state-led old space, as people like to call it, towards a more private, market-driven and entrepreneurial space. And this is basically what we mostly study at the space team at the University of Vasa, and also the space economy project that was just kicked off a couple of months ago here in Finland. One thing that is important to note is that not every new space company is a deep tech. So this is something that we found out when we were researching. Basically, then we came up with a new term, which is the DENS, so dense firms. These are the deep tech new space firms. Despite the growing interest in deep tech and space entrepreneurship, still little is known how these firms actually grow, and this is why we started doing this research. In terms of our motivation, then the research gap is that mainly, if you look at the existing theories, they mainly focus on digital startups, they focus on mature industries, and then there's really limited empirical understanding on how these dense firms are growing. If you look into literature about firms' growth, you find there are some debates which we try to settle here also with our research, and I'll get into that a little bit further ahead. And then if you look into literature about deep tech, they mostly focus on value of death, and they focus also on early stage companies. So basically the gap is that how do dense firms grow? We wanted to find out that. So we then first had to look into the literature that's available. Three main venues. The first venue is the classical growth theory. In the classical growth theory, there are two camps, basically. One camp, they say that, no, these companies, they are growing in a very linear way. It's based on stage. And then there is another camp. They basically say no, they grow in a more opportunistic, non-linear way. So this was interesting for us because we wanted to settle this debate specifically for the companies in the space industry or the new space companies. The second venue is the Schumpeterian growth theory. So basically this explains growth through innovation and creative destruction, and it puts an emphasis on technological breakthroughs. Lastly is the research-based and evolutionary. So basically it's more emphasis on internal resources accumulation and then the managerial capabilities to be able to support these companies to grow. Now, when we dive a little bit deeper into deep tech and space, so I'll focus now on the new space scholarship. Actually, we have one great scholar in the new space here, Mikko Punala. So we also had to study his work. 3 or 4 main authors, so Ken Davidian, Arto Yala, Professor Will Barber, and then Mikko Punala have been doing most of the recent studies in terms of space economy. So, but basically, if we are to summarize what they conceptualize, is that the sector is entrepreneurial, market-driven, and then the ecosystem is shaped by regulation. But if you read Mikko's thesis, basically he states that there is a lack of integrated firm-level growth framework. So this was also one of the motivations for us to do this, this study. In terms of the methodology, so we did a qualitative theory-driven sample. We selected 10 companies. We did a longitudinal analysis from 2002 to 2025, and then we basically analyzed the data. I'll go very fast through this. If you want this, you can request. So these are the companies that we studied throughout this time frame. And then basically we started sampling and trying to understand how these companies are growing. The first finding is that we understand now that these companies, they basically grow in 4 distinct stages. First one is a startup stage, then you have the scale-up stage, then you have what we call the hypergrowth stage, and then lastly is the established operator. So at the startup stage, mainly they focus on technological validation, regulatory approval, and then growth is mainly constrained by high uncertainty and limited resources. Scale up, they already demonstrated the product, they have a rapid growth, they have some revenue, and then it gets really interesting when you go into the hypergrowth, because here it's really accelerated expansion, and then the technology is proven, they have really a very good international market presence. And lastly, it's the established operator. These are companies that are sustained, they are capital efficient, the growth is supported by a really diversified portfolio, and they have some sort of a leadership in the ecosystem. So that's possible. We designed this framework, which we call the EAS framework. E stands for enable. For a company to grow, there needs to be ways to enable these companies to grow, and this connects a lot to the presentations that we had earlier today. ISA Big, Philab, Cassini, for example, they enable a lot of companies or new space companies to be able to grow. It's quite impossible for them or very difficult for them to grow. Then you need mechanisms for them to be able to accelerate this growth. This can be recurring revenue models, market demand, geopolitical scenarios. We can look into, for example, Earth observation market segment. Geopolitical scenarios are accelerating the growth for many of the companies there. And then you need also the sustainers of growth. So once you grow, you need to make sure that this growth is sustainable. The last framework that we then designed is we wanted to understand, okay, we now define these 4 stages of growth. What's happening? What's triggering these growths? And then here we have the event-based theory. So before each growth stage, there needs to be an event. So if you're looking at a startup, you have a B funding round. If you go to a scale-up, then you perhaps have a CD funding round. You hit a new technology milestone, and then maybe your internationalization is much more concrete. And then you have an established operator. You might be asking, from the companies that we've studied, actually only SpaceX is a established operator out of the 10 companies that we studied. So in conclusion, what we did was define these 4 stages of growth, and then we sort of proposed this EAS framework. This study is already under review for publication, so it's going to be published this year still. But of course, we are happy to share the draft results as well with anyone. So feel free to connect with me. Thank you very much.
Any questions, comments? Okay.
Yeah, I'm really interested in in one of the slides you showed is like 4 stages of company growth. And can you give an example, like in one of your study, what is the time frame that the company that stay in each of the frame, and what are the events or like the company size compared to each of the stage of the stage?
Yeah, this is a really great question, and the short answer is that there isn't a time frame. It really depends on many factors, and that's why we had to come up with this framework. So first of all, you need to have the mechanisms to enable growth. Let's say that your startup is founded in a region where you don't have an ecosystem like you have in Europe with Cassini, you have ISAPIC, ISAFILAB, and so many other opportunities to enable the growth of your company. It can be much harder because you don't have those mechanisms, you don't have policies to enable you to grow, you don't have institutions in place. And the same applies then if you want to grow, let's say, from scale up to hyper growth stage, you need to have the mechanisms that are going to accelerate. And again, I need to bring this back. What we notice is that the geopolitical scenarios, they are currently accelerating growth for a lot of market segments, especially now if we are talking about sovereign systems. Companies that are designing or selling satellites, they are seeing or having more sales. Companies that provide intelligence, Earth observation, satellite imagery, they also have an accelerated growth. It's very hard to predict as well. Of course, you can try to read the times and see what's happening, but some events, they happen out of a sudden, so then it becomes an opportunity for most companies.
Yeah, there was one there and one in the front. And yeah.
Yes, I have 2 questions, which is actually one. First, what happens after this established phase? Because there's a company with, legacy of changing and growing rapidly, and then starting to actually stabilize. And the other side of this thing is, what is the role of pivoting of the role and core idea of the company? Is it possible in some stages?
Yes, that's a great question as well. I did not put this on my last slide, and it's actually one of the limitations of this study. So further study needs to be done to understand that. We did look to a certain extent, for example, for some established operators, what we see, and this is not mainly specifically for new space firms. If we look a little bit into the old space, what we see is a lot of consolidation. So pivoting into new business models, acquiring other companies, or even acquiring possible competitors that are going to the stage of hypergrowth. Usually this is what we see happening, but we did not really do much research in terms of what happens from the established operator if they die, they sell the company, or something happens.
I'm Mary Helle, semiconductor entrepreneur, my 3rd company on the way. So I've read the book Chip Wars, the fight for the world's most critical technologies. And a lot of semiconductor companies, they were developed in the US under DARPA funding for the defense. And only when they changed from the public funding to the commercial sector, then they started to grow. And I think there are several examples, but how to enable this transition. So a lot of things are enabled by the public funding and accelerators, incubators, but then do you have any comments or analogies to more broader semiconductor industry?
Yeah, that's a very good question as well. There is one particularity in the space industry, is that space companies, or let's say if you start a space company, you rely a lot on the public established mechanisms because it's very difficult. Let's say if you want to build satellites and launch satellites, you are not going to have, if your technology is not even validated, it's not in space, it's very difficult for you to have revenue or acquire customers. So you rely a lot on public funding so that you can go through the cycles, you can start developing your technology, then you can have an IOD, and then perhaps you can start generating some interest and sign off some MVP customers, pilot customers, and then you can start generating some revenue. If even if we take, let's go into the United States and we can look into SpaceX as an example. SpaceX still, or more so in the beginning of their journey, they really relied a lot on public funding, public contracts. It's still very difficult for space companies to be purely just on a commercial revenue-based model without having the connection with the public funding side of things, just because also on the nature that space as a whole is still looked, and if you have been looking at the presentations here, is still looked as a frontier for security. This is one example. I do have a theory that I'm also currently studying. If we look into the Earth observation market, there is a huge potential to be for a Earth observation company to rely purely on commercial markets without the government markets. But usually then, I have to understand these companies because they raise money, then investors put pressure on them. They need to abandon exploring the commercial markets because it takes time. Creating pilots with giving free products so that you can get some traction. So because of resources, they have to abandon those programs and then just focus on selling to government again, acquiring public funding. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, I think.
It's okay.
Okay. Good. Please.
Maybe one question, like, did you see any difference between like satcom company, like telecommunication, and Earth observation one?
Yes, there is a huge difference, but also there is one similarity. What we notice is that these companies are becoming, in a sense, more focused on specific markets, mainly because of the geopolitical scenario. But if you look into the SATCOM, one difference from Earth observation is that SATCOM at least has been there already for decades. People have been using SATCOM for many years on the defense side and commercially. So it's much easier for you to create products and services based on SATCOM. Now, when it comes to Earth observation, it's a little bit more tricky. And the example that I usually like to use is that how often are you downloading satellite imagery just for your own private use? Not that often. Although there's already a very good company called Sky5, they have a very good product. It's an app that basically allows you to task satellites and get imagery over specific locations. But still, there are not many people that are using the product for a private use, which is the main difference with the telecom. So we use telecom for private use the whole time. Thank you.
Our last presentation is on the ESA General Support Technology Program. Victoria, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. We'll start. So my name is Victoria Peolokaite, and I'm today here with my colleague Nalia Peinado, and we are available on one-on-one meetings today and tomorrow. So, and I'm going to introduce to you ESA's General Support Technology Program and its opportunities for industry and European entities. So where we come from, so we are based in Estec in the Netherlands, which is the heart of ESA, the technical heart where most of future missions are being defined, and as well supporting by the testing facilities for the industry to prepare technologies for the future. And here you can actually see the employees in the what you see, the logo on the green grass, the ESA, that's actually us captured by the satellite image. And if we zoom in a bit closer, so ESA is structured in different directorates, and each of them is answering specific application needs for the application domains, and they are catered by technology programs that answer those needs. And general support technology program, it falls under tech together with DPTD program. So before focusing more on GSTP, I as well would like to mention technology development element program. It is basic research covering program for early TRL studies from 1 to 4, preparing technologies for future missions. And I would like to mention, as we issue every 2 years a work plan for the new technology R&D developments, and just in the coming weeks we are going to release the publication of TD work plan for the year 2026-2027, and that's composed of 200 activities that represents 100 million euros that will be for different R&D activities and open competition. So I think that's quite important for you maybe to keep an eye, and as this will be available in ESA Star publication, and eventually ITTs will be released throughout the year for industry to bid and academia. And as well, just to mention, it has a proven track of record as it's one of the actually the oldest technology program, and just celebrated 50 years last year. So moving to the GSTP, so General Support Technology Program. It is as well a well-established program of 30 years of heritage, and its key purpose is to prepare the future technologies for the future missions, to have the right technology at the right maturity and at the right time. I think that it captures very much the essence. And with this, we very much aim to, as well reflecting to the previous presentation, to build this strengthening the industry and to really help to push new technologies that could help the future missions to really achieve its objectives. And to mention, so GSTP program, it is an optional program, which means ESA member states, associate states, and cooperating states, they can subscribe to it. And currently, 27 states are subscribed, with, which actually all of them, and we expect soon Cyprus to join, being 28, so it also very much proves the support received. So looking back at the past years, we are in the beginning of this year. So we have around 600 technology R&D activities running as well, which is a large number, and all these activities are implemented indeed by industry, academia across Europe. And our team is coordinating this effort and developments with support from the national delegations that is received. And what type of developments are covered by the program? So as the name speaks, it's generic. So we cover all types of technologies, be it materials, propulsion, structures. So anything that you may need for the future satellite are parts of telecommunications, which is covered by ARTAS program. And last year we have initiated close to 200 new developments. And also to highlight, was a special year as we have received as well first images of Proba 3. As you can see, the very well captured solar mass ejection flares, as this was also one of the key developments funded by GSTP program. Finland is active participant of the program, and with reflecting back to ministerial, having a subscription of 4 million euros that is available for Finnish industry to be spent on the program developments. And here you can see few of the completed recent developments. For instance, the fully carbon-based filters by Amatec, which were developed based on requirements for the new Athena, and as well very much helped for the company to accelerate, starting from development in TD. As well, here you can see development by Beyond Gravity for remote interface unit, and also development by Elphys for silicon photodiodes. So you can see it shows quite a variety of different subjects. And this is more, in addition, few more achievements from other entities in different countries. You can see as well some developments in additive manufacturing, very much targeting to reduce the mass. For instance, the brackets were also demonstrated in JUICE mission. Also development for transmitter by TESAT. It's a commercially successful product that has been demonstrated, and other examples. So to looking a bit closer how GSTP is organized and ways to participate in the program. So the program is organized in the 3 core elements. So that is element 1, which is focused for technology developments up to qualification. Then on the right you see element 2, which focuses on market oriented developments and very much pushing the products to the market, and finally having it demonstrated on the GSTP element 3 fly. And this is complemented as well by components. We have a EEE component, as well as in last ministerial added resilience and security component to address the current geopolitical context needs. And the labels that you can see, it is actual member state subscriptions in the ministerial that make up to 1 billion euros for the next 3 years cycle. So here having a closer look, so element 1 has mechanisms like element 1 compendia, and I will tell you a bit more how it's organized, but this is targeting ESA-driven developments that European entities can express interest. Then we have as well element 1 specific areas to address specific needs that are as well presented in GSTP element 1 compendia. And as mentioned, the dedicated components. So, and the EEE, critical EEE technologies, and under resilience and security component, we have critical non-EEE technologies, as well as advanced cyber security developments, and application-driven dual-use technologies that are implemented in clusters and responding to the needs of the national delegations. So to implement technology R&D developments, there are 2 key mechanisms. So on the right, what you can see, it can be through frameworks, and that is very much industry-driven developments. And that is activities proposed by industry and supported by delegations, which actually both for any activity implemented under GSTP program, it is required to have the support for authorization of funding from the national delegations. And for the framework, so usually, so companies are invited to propose their ideas. Let's say you have you have your own product and you would like to do some additional development on it. So you can submit an outline proposal and for the implementation. And another path is work plan activities, which are both ESA-driven and industry-driven ideas. So for the GSTP Element 1 compendia, last autumn we just released compendia for 2026-2028 year. And this is composed of close to 200 technology development ideas. So entities are invited to have a look. It's accessible in ESA Star publication. You may find some topics and subjects that are of interest. And if you would like to implement it, you may contact us and your national delegation for support and more details. Coming a closer look on GSTP Element 1 frameworks. So there are two key frameworks, GSTP Element 1 de-risk and building blocks. So both of them are industry driven. They start from the outline proposal and they have slightly different set of frameworks. So de-risk is for activities of up to 9 months and 250,000 kilo euros. And they are really to address the key risks to see if it's worth actually to continue the development further. And if it's proven so, then we facilitate for the next steps. And the building blocks, it is a bit for more larger developments up to 1 million and up to 24 months. And here it is organized in the outline proposal step. So in this time, we can have a discussion also with the ESA's technical experts, and you can receive feedback before submitting the full proposal. GSTP Element 2 is as well organized in such way so that it also starts with an outline proposal stage through OSIP platform, Open Space Innovation Platform, and has the initial evaluation phase in which it's open for discussion. So Element 2 activities are industry-driven, market-oriented, and it is co-funded, mandatory co-funding. And finally, GSTP Element 3, FLY, it is after all the development steps, it's targeted for in-orbit demonstration. And here they mentioned a few examples. For instance, Finland has been active in Henon, as well for Hera, providing hyperspectral imager. And here you can see much more developments that were funded by GSTP. We are running short on time, but just briefly to recap on the ministerial. So the program had quite a significant increase in the funding, and as well addition of the new component. And more emphasis on the key topics of AI, quantum, cybersecurity. This is, I will not repeat, but this is a brief summary of all what was mentioned, just of the key elements, application process, and where you can find more information. Just to mention on the cybersecurity, we have just released a document with, in addition to GSTP compendium, with the building blocks activities. And industry is invited till the 31st of January to express interest into those activities. And this is available on ESA Star as well. And here as well, a few additional links on the available information, the results of the past activities, and for your information. I'd like to thank you, Kiitos. We are available if you would have any questions afterwards. We are available.
Yes, I was just meaning to say I realized that I stand between you and the coffee break. But thank you all for coming and for participating and for the discussion. And please make the most out of the networking event and reach out to the speakers and network. And there is a lot of funding available, as we've heard, for innovation. So please find possibilities to use
Sorry? It doesn't exist. No, it says on the website, it says we will soon share the Yes. I don't have a card, but I'll send you an email. It's easier. Yes, I would love to actually read through most of your research and see whether we can develop on top of that follow-up research. Yes. I live in Bishop as well. Yeah, I live in Bishop. Oh, it works. As long as we know. Stay here, don't move.
Look promising, or do you need for other help?
Like I am with Alliance Space, and we are the contact point for all our institutes at the space station. So what we do is basically make sure that our institutes interact personally, also work with startups as well. And personally, I'm a mechanical engineer and had a management degree afterwards, and have had hard time finding a management
chaired previous sessions. Yeah, but
I hope what you mentioned here.
Yeah, it's booming. No, but it's booming. I remember 5 years ago, I actually set up an executive education course together with Rotterdam Management, Nova, and Portugal, and Sardalia in Switzerland, about bringing business administrational knowledge to the space sector. It's very new at the time. This is more space what we talk about. Now, I see people researching it and already way more advanced than we were back then. So changing things. Yeah, but so we have to give it the appropriate attention, because all the things you're describing is of course also how we try to organize our programs along the scale-up curve and scalability. Yes, and I was actually participants to talk about business administrational concepts in the background of the emerging space. And so, and you're right, like 3-4 years ago, sure, of course I put this in Europe, but it's a big survey case. It was not the same as what I had. It was just the population of cases for something else. But now it's, yeah, I'm very excited. So I want you need to let me send you quickly an email. I would like to let's set up a meeting as well to discuss a little bit the way forward. So I have
Meillä on standin rakennussa jo siinä sen outletin vieressä. Huomenna jo täällä sisään. Pitää varmaan keskittää kohta tähän. Porrastaso siellä.
But still, I can see mainly about what we do. Many clients I see
Heidi toteuttaa tosiaan sen pilottikurssin. Heidi laittoi lukuja, se oli aika moni teki näin ja mäkin tekisin, jos mä tekisin työpöydän ääressä. Jaksisin sen rekisteröinnin, mutta ei välttämättä tee valtakunnasta.
So if you can also introduce me, maybe you can set up a meeting with you and NASA and things like where what is the stage there. I see that in Europe it's very diverse. So like this thing I set up with 3 business schools, spatial business, executive education. Yeah, you see really different. Some universities are really buying into like this is a great way to not only do executive education but really to bring it into our curriculum. Other universities have to be a bit slower on that. They kind of are missing the opportunity. But it's very, I'm actually a bit blown away with such a detailed research, really focusing on the niche-based economy. So no, very, very well done. And so we have to see if we get your research up there. Like let's say the primer of, okay, let's have a discussion and at the basis of a good discussion we'll have a paper. So I would like to submit a teleconference. Together how can we you ready file there we can yes. But it can go fast. My last one personally I did one in technovation and one in R&D management. And I'm actually quite impressed by the peer reviews and my own peer reviews. It's interesting. Positive. Constructive feedback. But I have to say it went faster than everybody said. Sometimes it does. Yeah. I feel like it because this is there you go. Yeah, so let's go for it. Yeah, good. No, so I really want to put that out there. Because this is kind of information also about
I'm both, so I get what you mean.
That's the best. That's the best. But all these constructs about they just know they know the terminologies.
Hello.
But they don't know really what it
Good afternoon, all. My name is Minna Pura. I'm from Laura University. Hello, hello. All the presenters here, 5 presenters. I'm just checking how many presenters. We have 5 presenters in this session are all already present. Can you put your hand up if you're presenting? One is missing.
Right, is the last one. Okay, right. That's at 4:35.
It's in 15 minutes, right?
Yes. 15 minutes for presentation. Maybe stick to 13 minutes so that we have 2 minutes for discussion.
This thing really needs to be loud because in the regular room we can.
I suppose we stick with the timetable, 15 minutes each, and if we have more time in the end, then we'll discuss more together. If one is missing, but they probably come later.
I am one. If you count, I'm just the last.
Okay.
You count.
Hands up again. How many are presenting?
4.
Four.
Okay.
I guess it's still five chairs to look at.
I'll just check. Yeah. And say hello to your phone.
Hi.
Yes. How are you? What's your problem? Comes up great.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure fine. Following your posts online. You're way different on social media than in person. So
Really?
I can say, but yeah.
Just put a new picture up.
Well, no, I just saw recently saw your post as well.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you in person.
Likewise, likewise. Have you met in Estonia because I did some super friends festival?
Yes, and that was the one I wasn't there because I was in another conference in Berlin. But yes, that was the one which you were covering quite nicely. So I was following you from there, something quite nice.
I'm recording my entire speech myself, but if you can take some pictures, that would be amazing.
Also, we need some more attendees.
Well, yeah, but it's still a coffee break. So. But otherwise, the right people are always there. Even if it's only a handful. It would be nice like the previous session where the room was completely full. For space education, I know. The previous presentation was all about how to get money.
Maybe it's from here, like business of education or something like that.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, the keyword will just decide money.
Yeah. Yeah, the keyboard should really
Sure, but we're a bit early, aren't we?
Yeah, well, it's 5:30.
Program says 35, but let me set up and then I'll be ready in 1 minute.
Okay. Well, no rush. I was a bit early. Just checking that you're ready.
I'm ready to go.
You're right, 35. Great.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Great to see such an international audience.
Many students.
Yes. Welcome all. Testing, testing. Welcome to the education session. Glad to see you all here. We'll start in a few minutes. My name is Minna Pura. I'm from the Laurea University of Applied Sciences in Finland, in Vantaa. And I'm glad to see a lot of international audience in this session and very many exciting sessions to come. So space education is a very topical area of interest. We need lots of new experienced employees, workforce, entrepreneurs, visionaries who will guide this industry to the next heights. So we need staff from all of the areas of the society, not just rocket scientists, but people that are able to vision what it might be in the future. We have now 5 interesting sessions in this education track. We'll start shortly. One session was cancelled, so instead of six presentations, we will have 5. So we'll keep up with the schedule so that each presenter will have 12 or let's say 13 minutes time for their presentations and 2 minutes for questions and comments. So 15 minutes each. And as we now have extra 15 minutes, we can use it in the end or as a buffer if there's a lot of questions and good discussions, or to end this session with joint discussions. Welcome to the education session. One minute left. Let's be punctual. Where do you all come from? Can shout out. Berlin, Estonia, Luxembourg. Wow. United States. This is a really. Italy. More. Estonia, Finland, Turkey. US. Welcome to the education session. This must be one of the most international sessions, I guess. Glad to see you here. My clock is now 15:35, so welcome all again. My name is Minna Pura. I'm from the Laurea University of Applied Sciences. I will present as a second speaker in this session and act as a session chair. And now I would like to welcome Remco Timmermans, M-Tronics, the changing face of space education and workforce development. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for all showing up, because space education is not an obvious topic perhaps, but it is one of great importance to the industry. And that's really why I wanted to present specifically this, the changing face of space education, because space education is changing or needs to change in line with the industry. I always like to start with this slide. I mean, I put the title on top of it, but forget about the title. This is essential to the space industry. The space industry is full of people who are living their dream, to maybe not go to space, but contribute to the space industry. Because space is cool, and the coolness factor is so important for this industry at the moment to attract workforce, because there are things that we can offer maybe less than other industries. But let's dive into it. Let's start by introducing myself. My name is Remco Timmermans. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for a company called M-Tronics from Luxembourg. But that's not really what I'm going to talk about today. I also represent an organization called the International Astronautical Federation, which is the oldest association of space organizations in the world, and I'm the chair of the Space Education and Outreach Committee. I work in marketing. For me, outreach is as important, outreach for the industry, as important as marketing my own company. I'm also global faculty at the International Space University. I work, volunteer, it's all volunteer stuff, for an organization called the Global Space Enablers Network, where we work with developing space nations. I'm a founding member of the Space Communications Alliance, because we need more space communicators, and I'm the director of spaceagenda.com, where we collect all space events. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do so. I'm a marketeer, I'm an outreach person, I like to network, so please connect with me. Okay, let's dive into this. This is a simple question, and this is a question that, until very recently, was not answered satisfactorily. We all should know who these are, right? We're all space geeks here. We all recognize the Mercury 7. And this is what many people think of space as a career opportunity. You have to be this. You have to be a fighter pilot. You have to be male. You have to be American. How many of you are fighter pilots? Yeah, that's what I thought. None. But this is still the image that the space industry has. The space industry is rocket science. It's hard. You have to be made out of the right stuff. The right stuff is something that was very popular in the 1950s and 1960s. But none of us look like this. None of us want to look like this, I suppose. But, by the way, if you've not seen this film, go see it, but that's another story. But this is the space workforce of the past. And things are changing. Things are changing quite dramatically, but things are changing. So until recently, space was about aerospace engineers. Space was about that picture that you see here. This is the lunar module. If you don't recognize it, this is the lunar module being built by the Grumman Company in the 1960s, which was an engineering thing. NASA wanted to go to the moon and contracted out the building of the whole infrastructure needed for the Apollo program to all these companies, and it was all about engineering excellence. But things are changing. Space is much more about business. We saw that in the previous session. Space is about law. Space is about ethics. Space is about executive. Space is becoming a business, and we'll see a little bit more about that later. But space education has to escape the aerospace engineering idea, and that is ongoing, but as I will argue, that has still not happened. There is still a skills gap problem that is caused mainly by that perception. But we see that growth without the right talent, and the industry is growing very fast, creates friction. And we'll see examples of that. 52% of space organizations report skills gaps, and we'll see where that number comes from in a minute. And a lot of that shortage is not in aerospace engineers. That's what we're seeing, and I suffer from that as a board member of a space company, is the skills that we're looking for is not so much in aerospace engineers, it is in software engineers. Software is one of the biggest gaps. Data, system engineering, all these different things that we need to build a business rather than building spacecraft that land on the moon. So business, project, commercial skills are increasingly critical. And what we see in the space workforce reality is that, yes, this is very STEM heavy, and the space industry is still more reliant on engineering and on traditional STEM skills than other industries, but it's almost 50-50. STEM versus non-STEM roles, and we tend to forget that. The aerospace industry is growing very fast. We saw some numbers, an 18% global space employment growth in the last 5 years, and over 350,000 space workers in the US alone. I couldn't find the figures for other organizations. And we're looking at, okay, where is that space skills gap? We have the Space Skills Alliance in the UK that's done a lot of work, and Mina will show us some examples later. You can see I edited this presentation really late, but just to connect things. And this is very personal. This is where the space skills gap appears. It appears in companies. And this is my company in Luxembourg. So if there's any one of you who is any of these jobs, please come to me afterwards, because these positions have been open for over 6 months. We cannot find the right people. Of course, we're looking for 25-year-olds with 30 years of experience, but that's a different thing. Just twist your CV a little bit. And also visit this booth later. It's upstairs. This is where Mina is. I'm not sure if you have even this picture in your presentation. Anyway, visit this booth, and there's a QR code there that you can't scan here, but you can upstairs to give your opinion about this. This slide is very dear to me, because we tend to focus a lot on STEM in the industry, and we're still doing that. There's so many initiatives that promote STEM in space. I don't like that. There's 4 letters in STEM. And what I did with this slide is I created jobs for all the other letters. There's what is it, 27, 28 letters in the alphabet, depending on the alphabet that you use. But I try to find jobs for all of them. And all these roles, all these 28 letters are important to the space industry. Because space is open for business. Space is becoming a business. It's no longer an engineering activity. No, space is a business. And we've seen it in the previous presentations and on the main stage. Space is becoming, what is it, a 1.8 billion, no, trillion, dollar business in 2035. That's massive. That's more than 3 times what it is today. Commercialization, faster cycles, system complexities. We talked about regulation, so we need lawyers, we need business people, because space is becoming a business like any other business, and we need the people like any other business. And we tend to think that space is special, and of course it is, but it's not. Because these are the new space professionals, and it cuts off a little bit on the top, but these are the people that make up the space sector of the future. So we do need this technical expertise. It remains essential. It's half of the workforce, but we need added literacy in business, finance, regulation, and all the other stuff, again, that makes a space business to a normal business. And luckily, what we see, especially over the last 5 years, is a proliferation of new education initiatives. And I mention a few here. This picture I took 10 minutes ago of a leaflet that I picked up at the Luleå University booth. And there's lots of stuff. The EU Space Academy by USPA was presented an hour ago. There's the Space for Business program by 4 business universities. There's the executive space courses by the International Space University, where I'm a global faculty member. Very popular. Several of my friends have done the New Space Economy online course at MIT, an eight-week course. And it's not all about, that's what I'm saying, it's not all about traditional tertiary education. It's not about your traditional bachelor's and master's, no. We need to look at other groups of people that we can train to join the space industry. If we want to grow this fast, we cannot rely on traditional students alone. We need career switchers. Who of you is a career switcher in space? I mean, I am, very clearly. I came from finance and banking, the most boring industry in the world, and now I joined the most exciting industry in the world. But I was 42 until I realized that you don't have to be an aerospace engineer to join space. So even I fell into that trap. And there's executives who need to learn that the space business, although it is business as other businesses, it's also not. So it also works the other way around. When executives from other businesses want to join, they need to learn space. And all these initiatives exist. So the one takeaway from this presentation is that, well, as it says here, the future of space will not be limited by launch capacity or by any other technical constraint. It is by how fast we can educate people who understand the system. And with that, I have no clue how much time I used, but I would like to, I used a different font here. Thank you very much for your attention, Kiitos, and please, again, connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you. Yeah, what has changed? There's one thing that has changed and there's one thing that has not changed. One thing that has changed within the industry itself is there's a realization of this. And this is really from the last 5 years, a realization that we do need to train the non-STEM workforce, that we do need to focus on career switchers and on executives. And all these training courses that I showed you, and I'll just click back. How does that work? I don't have too many slides. This one. So all these, and it's not showing. Oh, sorry. Put that slide back up. The next, no, following. This one. This one. Okay, sorry, that took half a minute. But all these different courses that the industry has developed, that the academia part of the industry has developed, is great. The thing that has not changed and that we need to work much harder on is the perception that space has outside of space. Space is still a bubble. And we really like to operate in the bubble. We like to talk space to other space people. And we use a jargon. We are rocket scientists to the rest of society. Nobody understands what we're doing. So it's also a PR problem that the industry has. People still think about the Mercury 7 and about Neil Armstrong when they think about joining the space industry. And of course, the industry is not Neil Armstrong anymore. It's very different, but the perception in society is still very different. So that is the key thing we need to work on. All these programs now exist, and more will be developed, but people need to find it, and we need to tell them how cool the space industry is, really. Thank you for your question.
Another question?
Please.
Isn't making it exclusive the part of making it exciting? You said finance is boring and many people can do it, but if everyone does space, then is it still exciting?
Yes and no. Of course it's still exciting because the stuff that we do is still exciting. But the work that is needed to do all this exciting stuff, no, it isn't always exciting. Being a marketing executive in a space company is requires lots of the same skills as a marketing manager in any other technology area, perhaps. And we should be careful by keeping it exclusive, because if we're keeping it exclusive, we also keep it inaccessible. We need more diversity, we need more variety, we need more countries, more different educational backgrounds. We need to open ourselves a little bit. So I would argue for being a little bit less exclusive in order for these growth predictions to actually happen and for the benefits of space to actually roll out, because we need that space workforce. But it's a good question. Please.
Can you speak up a little bit? Sorry, it's difficult to hear.
Do you know some figures and facts about how EU is pushing towards upskilling and reskilling towards the space educators and space education industry?
So the question is how much effort the EU is putting into upskilling and reskilling, and whether I have numbers. I don't have numbers. Okay, let me put that up. We can Google or use AI to find some of these numbers. I do know that, for example, it's good that this picture's up. This initiative by USPA, the Space Academy, they offer hundreds of different courses, short courses about very specific topics, not just engineering, much more about entrepreneurial skills, online here. Actually, the numbers are here. 3,000 participants, which is nothing, if you ask me. A lot of learning content, mentoring availability. It is available, but again, the problem is that people don't know how to find this. It's the same with Earth observation data. It is many terabytes of data every day and nobody's using it. And it's a little bit the same here. We develop all these things, but especially the European Union is not always good in promoting it and bringing it to the right people. So being here, this is actually the wrong place to present this. It should be presented in places where space is not so well known. Preaching to the choir is something that we're really good at, and we should stop doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for being so inclusive and including our Jenny and me in your presentations already. So we are the next presenters, and we have got funding from EU to discover these gaps. Where would we reach the other non-STEM people? How to make it more them also aware as adult learners, how to continue continuous learning so that you all will have a successful career and possibilities to develop further after your basic education. So our presentation talks about a research project called Aerofuse. We explore skilling needs in the space economy. We come from Laura University of Applied Sciences that is based in Finland, and we are representing the Nordic countries in this project. Aerofuse acronym comes from an Alliance for the Future of Aeronautics and Upstream Segment Skills Evolution. Long name, but in essence, it's building a strategy for the future workforce in the European aeronautics and defense sector. So we are focusing on these specific fields because we think that they are, according to the background check, these may be the most influential in getting adult learners to the business. Someone with a background in aeronautics, as a pilot, or in defense. That's where many of those who work in the industry at the moment come from. But of course, we're open for widening the perspectives and thinking broadly. As Remco mentioned, there's a huge skills gap, and we need a lot of people in the industry. According to research, 300,000 additional professionals in a really short term. So it's not enough just to build awareness among young people and STEM fields. We need also adult education and transferable skills
people from other industries to transfer to this industry. And also statistics say that transferable skills are important. You have to learn new things all the time because the technology develops really rapidly. So, in effect, there's a need to attracting, but also retaining talent so that you have professional opportunities, long-term career, not just short-term traineeship, but how you can proceed and develop your career. So we need knowledge transfer programs for reskilling, upskilling, and a long-term action plan. So this project will develop a strategy how to do that. So we will explore first industry needs and skilled labor, and then develop creative curricula for upskilling and reskilling, both on higher education, but also now vocational training. That's one identified gap, that we need also the doers, not just the planners. So getting hands-on stuff done. And in addition, we also aim to develop skills intelligence forecasting tools. So in the future, in 4 years' time, there should be a portal where you can say what you have done so far, and it will recommend what you should learn in the future to develop your career. And automated career suggestions and course plans, more personalized than is provided at the moment, and promoting lifelong learning. And also, because this is a EU-level project, we're promoting transferability of the credits and qualifications across all European countries. So that can easily also move from one country to another. When talking at the booth, some already mentioned that it's really important for you to be international and be able to transfer between countries from their own home country to another and learn different cultures, communication, networking. So this is all aiming to support that. We have 26 partners across Europe. We are the ones in the Nordics, and then a long list of other partners presenting universities, NGOs, and associations, accreditation institutions, and look forward to also engaging you all. Looking forward to hearing your opinion and in engaging you in the dialogue, what we should do in the future. The focus areas at the moment are defined to aerospace and defense, and especially aircraft production, satellite manufacturing, and infrastructure. But of course, we're open to any stakeholders who are interested in collaboration. But especially, we would like to interview people from these fields. So as a conclusion, the contribution of this project will be to enhance competitiveness and sustainability in the European aerospace and defense industry. So we're proposing a reactive mid and long-term strategy ensuring industry relevant skills and connections with the market. And will thereby also promote economic growth, social fairness, and environmental sustainability by reducing skills mismatches and promoting lifelong learning. And what's our role in it all, since we are not teaching technology-related topics at Laurea? So we are building a strategy. I teach a strategic foresight and management at Laurea, and our focus area is the futures. So we're doing predicting what the paths might be. We are first exploring trends, emerging issues, and building a scenario report, what the future might look like in 10 years. And then we predict the skills, what are needed, match the gaps, and try to develop new types of extracurricular activities, anything that will attract people to the field and enable you to have long-term careers. So the other partners are then also doing hands-on content creation connect to the industry, do communication and dissemination. And in the Nordics, we will continue to support these type of events, do hackathons, something new as well. Could be, we're looking for your ideas. What else could it be than these kind of networking events or hackathons? It could be also something totally new. So our part is the strategic foresight. So there will be a scenario report, and you can subscribe to our newsletter to learn more. It starts early stages, but we will send it to you, those who leave your contact details later on when it's ready. It's not yet ready. And the QSR company in Portugal will do a report on the skills overlaps with other sectors. So what can you do? Someone asked at the stand, what can I do? I want to make an impact. Please tell me, what are the action points? So next, the action points are, you can answer a short survey, with tracking the skill gaps. Then you can visit us at the Laurea stand on the mid-floor and express your opinion about the future emerging issues. What's happening in the future in the field? Where are the skill gaps? What are they about? And thirdly, you can subscribe to the mailing list so that you will get access to the scenario report when it's ready. Thank you. Questions? Or comments?
Thank you for that very nice project and initiative and talk. My question is, if you think now Finland or Sweden in 5 years, what has changed in the education field? Give your vision. Do we have a study entity in Laurea? Do we have somebody learning space in Pori? What actually happens?
I think that the students today want to have a vision and a mission. So my vision is that it would be more like in Japan, like the Moonshot Goal projects across different universities that have a common goal. Some have some specialities, but everyone works together. So they might have a bigger goal, like sustainable, safe space, that makes everyone feel good and they want to contribute. And then each educational institution might have their specialty, how they tackle that. And then I vision that the different disciplines will collaborate, like nowadays are done with hackathons, that they solve the wicked problems together, cross-disciplinary teams, and then meet, talk, and solve something that we can't even think that is solvable at the moment.
Thank you very much.
If I may, in addition to what Jan was asking, I represent industry, as you just saw. How do you see the relationship between academia and industry? Because the skills gap, we said it before in the booth, is between you and me, representing academia, representing industry. How can industry be more involved in order to close that skills gap?
Maybe I'll give the floor to Jan, but short answer that traineeships is something that students want. They want to do stuff and get contacts and talk to people. So not just projects in coursework, but something tangible where you can meet and talk and touch the people that work in the industry, role models, connections, networks.
Yes, I'm fine without mic. But it's a gap there, and it's a funny thing that happens with industry. People are starting in the industry, go to the industry, and then they work in the industry, and they think that the educational area is not changing. So usually industry doesn't even know what actually happens today in the educational institution. So it actually needs an effort from both sides. And one of the ways, according to my career, is like how students go to the industry is through summer trainee, thesis projects, and special assignment projects. So if you can afford every now and then communicate with the professors and find out a good person to train in your company, I think this is the most fruitful way for your learning. Additionally, we have a small workshop how to work together with universities on Thursday morning in London.
Thank you.
In my opinion, we're quite good in Finland in integrating companies to the courseworks. So we have assignments that we work for companies, like we play as consultants and do stuff for companies already during the studies.
Yeah, question. Yeah, my name is Tiziano. I'm from Estonian Aviation Academy. There's my students as well here. Our question is, today in the education, we focus a lot on technical skills and soft skills. Now they are more and more important. But there's a third pillar which I see a bit lacking in general in Europe. Is this mindset, being, how to say, thirsty, or and I call it like being a solution provider. I try to communicate to my students that when you go to work, bring solutions on the table. Don't wait instructions or recipes. And we need students that bring something on the table all the time, or people in general, that they are not passive actors, but they are on drive seat. That's something which probably I don't see much at all. I work in Finland, I do some work in Netherlands, in Estonia as well. I see it quite missing compared to previous generations. So what we can do to motivate these new guys to feel that, they need to bite the life and they need to bring solutions instead of being passive. Or maybe I'm wrong, but that's the impression I have.
Great initiative, and at Laurea we focus on foresight, so we build the futurist consciousness, and that's one part of it is making an impact, like agency beliefs, building that you have self-confidence that you can make an impact. Future is not done, we make it together. Any initiatives? We can continue the discussion during the coffee break. Now we need to go further to the next presentation, which will be Biruk Terefesetu. Did I pronounce? Hopefully you can pronounce the name better. If you, from students' perspective, successful factors and challenges in space student-led projects.
Thank you. My name is Biruk Tarafa. I'm a student at Luleå University of Technology. I'm a Space Master student, which you were promoting. Thank you for promoting our program. I'm a project, I used to be in Aptas project. When I go through the whole presentation, you will understand what we were doing in Kiruna and in the other projects. So when all of us think about student space projects, we think in terms of the hardware development, the mission success and everything, but we usually overlook some other aspects of the project, which is related with the project structure, with the people, with the communication, that makes the project successful, or that makes it like challenging. So recently we had a case study. We had a survey, we collected a survey in our student projects. Of course, there are many literatures that were done in different universities and different programs, and even by NASA, but we also have our students and student-led space projects, so we wanted to see in depth, and we wanted to see their individual perspective. Of course, when it is a survey, everyone's perspective is like individual for every survey, for every question. So we wanted to see that, and I'm going to take you through the whole process that is running at the back of the success and the challenges on this led space missions. But before I start my presentation, I would like to thank my professor, Professor Victoria Barabash and Professor Hassan from University of Toulouse. When we do the survey, it was quite challenging distributing the survey to everyone else. So they were very helpful, and also I would like to thank University and LCU, of course. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a brief look into the study environment. And the first study environment that I'm going to tell you about is the Kiruna Space Campus, which we are studying in. And it's in the northernmost Lapland of Sweden. It's in the northern Lapland. It's cold, but it's really beautiful. You get to see aurora. And that picture I took myself. You get to be inspired with nature and everything. And when you see the campus and the whole structure, it's a very nice place. The campus is like well equipped, especially for student projects. If you want to build and test something, there is a lab. There is also Kiruna Space Campus is also home to the IRF and the ISCAT scientific community, so you can have like different collaborations. And when everyone is testing something or building something, you can test it here with their collaboration. So it's a good environment to build your CubeSat or any student space project. And one thing that I like about, especially in the Space Master program, is its diversity. When you see this picture, you can see in the hallway, everyone that comes from everywhere else have a pin here. So this is where I'm from Ethiopia. So here, for example, in our program in round 20, we were 30 students, and we come from around 17 nations. So it's highly diverse, and everyone works in different student space projects collaboratively. That thing that I admire most. And the same goes on in University of Toulouse. And in both universities, the facilities are really good. And also, there are different inspirational previous works that were displayed that keeps students engaged and gets motivated. These are the ones that were previously built by IRF that you see every day, so it's cool. And when we go through the student projects, I'm going to give you a brief introduction of what they do. Of course, we are interested more on their success and challenge, not their technical perspective here. But they do, we do different projects with different scopes, especially Aptos and Raven. There is an end-to-end mission design, from the planning up to like the successful up to launching. So it's an end-to-end mission. And Aptos, it's an atmospheric polar alignment satellites, and we aim to design, build, test, and launch and operate and one unit cube satellite, CubeSats, and it has two payloads. One, the ISCAT transmitter, and also additional optical camera. And Fenrir also, it's a scientific mission with a free-fall experiment units on the microgravity experimentation. Their projects also quite progressed, especially I remember last year when everyone was like working hard to when their launch date was arriving, and they had a launch, and their project is mostly they have done most of the part, and they have progressed than the other projects, I guess. And since most of the students are here, I can also like connect you with them and see in detail about the Fenrir project. And Glitch is also another project in our campus. which is called the Gamma Light Interference in Technical Circuitry and Hardware, and it aimed to investigate how cosmic radiation affects electronic hardware in the stratosphere. And we also have Raven, which basically the team is trying to build a hybrid rockets and trying to launch it at the end. So you can see these are the current one from building a satellite to a rocket. It's a different spectrum. And we also have had Void Cube, another project that was done at LTU. They are not currently engaged in the project, but they participated in the survey, and they gave constructive responses. And it was called the Versatile Omnidirectional Interfacing Device Cube, and they aim to create an array of modular CubeSat units, and each containing spacecraft subsystem, and they basically filled the survey and told us what went on behind their project. And Versat is a project in the University of Toulouse, and it's called the Vanguard Exploration for Research and Engineering System and Technology, and their purpose was a stratospheric balloon mission, and it was conducted in collaboration with CNES, and they wanted to provide a hands-on experience for students like the projects in LTU. And the project environment, or the whole project ecosystem, is very complicated. I will share with you the document so that you can see it. But the main project team is this one, the student project team, and the project management, subsystems and subsystem heads, and systems engineering. They all collaborate and report to each other. And this is the central core team that make the missions successful, and they are all part of the whole collaborative ecosystem, which includes external stakeholders like launch providers, code providers, space agency programs, and university departments. And also this project ecosystem also includes student organizations, like in our campus we have GSO, the Giron Space Organization, so it's also part of the ecosystem. And there are public relations by the university side and industry mentors and academic supervisors. They're all engaged, and they're all part of the constructive ecosystem for the student projects. So what we tried to do was, after conducting the survey, we tried to collect responses from students, and these responses were in 7 main elements. The first one was the internal team communication, and the other 2 that were related was what motivated and what demotivated the students during those project works. And we also tried to see the pedagogical success. So we asked the students what their learning outcome, the skill development is, and we also asked some questions on technical and engineering practices, and the team organization, knowledge and transfer, and planning. So when we see briefly in the internal team communication, it was clear strengths between the student team projects. They had good communications among each other, and teams maintained a frequent and structured team meetings, and they resolved their conflicts internally during those meetings. For example, in APTAS, in our project, we have like weekly meetings, Monday meetings with project management leaders and also the sub-teams. And we have management team every Friday. So we have 2 meetings every week. And also we have a workshop on Wednesday, so the engagement and the communication is clear. And we have open exchange of ideas, and also we resolve conflicts there by discussion openly, so which is good. And when we see the pedagogical success, we asked the students what their learning outcome was, and they said almost all of them, 90%, they agreed that they had good learning outcome because they were learning by doing, and their skill development was also very high. So despite the technical and organizational challenges they could face, their learning outcome was very high. And when we see the technical and engineering practices, the teams, they widely adapted standard engineering practices that were being used in different space organizations and in real space missions. And they also used different commercial off-the-shelf products. And however, integration was somehow a challenge. Integrating those commercial off-the-shelf products into their projects was somehow a challenge, but it's not that like a problem. It's almost 65% good. And when we see the team organization and knowledge transfer, there is a high turnover of students. For example, Space Master students leave every year to different universities, so they turn every year. And the Swedish students every 2 years. And those high turnover rates, so you can see every semester there may be a student leaving the project, and this has created a challenge. We have observed that, but it is structural and unavoidable. So there are ways that they could mitigate it, and mostly through onboarding and documentation. And planning, while goals were initially clear, the scope realism was a major weakness, and there was no frequent need to modify objectives, and this indicates that their project was consistent. And the motivation and demotivation factors, we observed that mostly it's personal interest that drove the students to go into their projects and do the projects. And it was interesting to see that career prospects as the lowest point there. And the demotivation mostly driven by organizational coordination issues and by technical difficulty itself, because like space missions are difficult. So after this, we tried to find out the success factors and the challenges by pointing out from the responses of the students. And what we observed is, of course, the success factors are the teamwork and collaboration is the main thing, and their motivation, their personal motivation and commitment, their planning and leadership, their problem solving and adaptability to the project and the project environment and the technical stuff too, and also the mentorship and support that they were being provided by the campus supervisors is also the success factor. And the challenges they were facing were mostly due to the team dynamics and turnover that we mentioned earlier, and the project scope. When it's a big scope, it's kind of difficult for them to adapt. And if there is an ambiguity in the goal, it's also challenging. And there was a challenge in time management by themselves, and also the project time management, and also there were scheduling conflicts with their study and everything they planned. And the other challenge was technical and logistic problems, and there was a gap also in supervision and institutional support gaps. But since this was a student-led project, they were mostly expected to do it by themselves and make the project successful. And after all that, we have these lessons that we outline that we recommend for our future students that join the projects or join any other projects. These are some points to keep in mind before joining any project. So, yeah, and these are the references we used, and you can also have links to the project sites here. And any questions? Thank you.
Excellent research and good results. All of us can benefit how to make it successful. Any questions from the audience? Okay, let's continue to the next presentation and continue networking during the coffee break. So the next one, welcome Ali Burak Özil, Fraunhofer Aviation and Space, and you talk about competency analysis on very low Earth orbit satellite technology the status quo. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming to this presentation. This is going to be a different taste from all other presentations. So I am going to start with presenting a methodology for competency analysis in research institutes for emerging new space technologies. And the second goal of this presentation today is to inform you about the status quo of the very low Earth orbit satellite technology in general, like the required capabilities, technical technologies required, and things like that. So a little bit background about Fraunhofer Aviation and Space. So we are a unit in Fraunhofer Institutes which connects the aerospace industry and the institutes of Fraunhofer. And as you can see here, we are active in pretty much all technology areas of space applications. And what we do is basically to facilitate access to research. And let's dive in. So what is very low Earth orbit? So very low Earth orbit is any orbit that is lower than 400 kilometers, we can say. The limit is a little vague, actually, but it is really important for the sustainability of future space operations, because like in lower Earth orbits, the satellites deorbit much faster than upper orbits, and this can be really helpful for the future of the space applications. And the market is expected to grow significantly in the upcoming years, as you can see here. So it is expected to grow more than 10 times in 3 years. But how we can reap the potential? So there are a lot of technical challenges to this. And to reap the potential, we first need to tackle those challenges. And tackling those challenges will be helpful in all space applications, basically. In defense, it offers fast and secure direct-to-device communications, and the quality of the Earth observation data is much better, so which is also helpful for defense industry. And it is harder to track and interface. And for the communication and navigation part of it, it is because it is closer to the Earth, basically the signal transmission time is reduced. And that would help pretty much with everything, actually. It is more reliable satellite data, more reliable navigation data, and it has high potential to fix the ambiguity problems in navigation as well. So how about the research? So the goal of our research is to assess the strategy stage of the innovation funnel in non-profit applied research organizations for emerging research, for emerging technologies. And we are going to use a resource-based perspective to analyze the competencies. The research question that you can see here, how we can effectively navigate, and by applying this to very low Earth orbit case in Fraunhofer Institutes, the research has a practical implication as well. And we can transfer this to other cases as easily, other emerging technologies, which would pave the way for future innovation. So this is the innovation funnel, and as you can see here, the product development is only a small part of it, and we are going to focus on the technology strategy part and the competence analysis. So the research is formed from 2 different stages. In stage 1, we will develop our approach. We will update the perspective to the existing frameworks, and we are going to use the radical resource-based view, which is an alternative to conventional view to resource-based view. And the resource-based view analyzes firm resources according to a variant criteria to see if the firm can have, or if the research institute can have a sustained competitive advantage in the focal technology or focal area. What we did, we updated a few of the definitions of the resource-based view. So the inimitability is updated, and for the case of research institutes, we defined their competitive landscape as competition, which is experiencing competition and collaboration at the same time. So that was the definition of the setting. And we also introduced a concept called benchmark element, because for the emerging technologies, it is really hard to find a comparable technology. And like, this is your only chance. You can only compare it to a most similar technology, because simply there is not enough applications. The second stage was to apply this to Fraunhofer Institute, and while doing so, we developed a structure that can be transferred to other technologies as well. The first column that you can see here, like, it is a qualitative process, and external and internal interviews are included. The resources and capabilities title, those will be the same for all cases, and the Vilio markets, the ones under the Vilio markets can be replaced with any other emerging technology. So here is the overview of the methodology that we are going to use to analyze the competency. As you can see here, we updated the radical resource-based view. We redefined the winning criteria. This is going to be the same for everything. The benchmark elements should be defined depending on the technology. The competition can have a different setting. The competitive landscape can have different as well. And the stage 2, we developed the necessary structure for others. And now we are going to share the results. So in the end, at the end, we listed the challenges. We list the challenges in the emerging technology. In that case, Vilio. We found that like the atmospheric conditions are the main challenge. For example, like the effects of free electrons in upper atmospheres on those satellites. We also find some additional challenges during this process, which is like the funding requirements or the insufficient in-orbit data. For example, this last point here is a research gap. As basically, people keep asking about this, and it is interesting to dive deeper because it would help more to the industry. And the propulsion-related challenges is also really critical. And depending on these, we can also list the necessary technologies for the focal technology, Vilio, very low Earth orbit satellites in our case. And this, again, creates the setting for future research and the areas that would bring the most competitive advantage. Material coatings, compact and modular payloads. Like, to be specific, the series production is an important point, as we will have more satellites as we get lower. And personally, with what this research, I took from this research that there is a research gap in sustainable materials use. It can apply to all orbits as well, and I just started my own research on that, for example. And here you can see the overview of the capabilities that we listed. In the end, we can get 2 different layers of correlations. I know there is a lot, but you can see this one in the abstract as well. The first layer is the categories like propulsion management, power management, and the capabilities under categories are related. And also we have an additional layer of correlation. So a comprehensive understanding of the necessary competencies that would be used as an input in strategy processes in companies. So while making the decisions to invest in or where to invest in more. We also get something similar for managerial and organizational capabilities. So we separate them from each other. And in the end, we also learn about the capabilities through the internal interviews of the focal entity. And in that case, we learned about the Vilio demonstrator and a project that Fraunhofer is already working on, like focusing on Earth observation and communication applications. And also we list the competencies that will help us the most. And in our case, it is the network built by the Fraunhofer. It is pretty complicated and hard to build. The know-how on sensor technologies would be also beneficial for us so that we will have an advantage on that. And also the hypervelocity dynamics and the plasma physics know-how of EMI will be very helpful to understand the dynamics, the atmospherical conditions in upper atmosphere. So thank you very much. This is my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if you have any questions right now, I can take them.
Thank you very much. Very exciting. This is a new area. We are also trying to get involved more with the VLEO, with our next Center of Excellence. My question here is maybe, is there any studies, or do you base your study on an estimate how much this area is going to grow? Or how, I understand this is militarily very important, but in order to check like what do you need for that, maybe for some kind of business you need an estimate, how big it's going to be. What is your guess?
So my personal guess, like there's already, like professionals already did that in the market research, and until 2030, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I can share with you afterwards. If I remember correctly, it should just like 300 launches. So in the upcoming 10 years, I don't see it as, I don't see it will get as big as the LEO operations right now, because we have to tackle the challenges first. And like studies like that are necessary to understand which challenges should we focus on and which companies need to focus on these challenges. But I see for sure LEO is going to be the only option in the end anyway, if we keep polluting the orbits with such a speed. If we tackle those challenges, if we work on those challenges, so I mentioned that I started to look to the sustainable material use cases. So the reason I did was because, like, with this research, I realized that in the end, LEO will be the only option that we have, and we are just selling it. It will be more sustainable because they will deorbit much faster. But with this research, I realized that it will cause a problem for the atmosphere because of the aluminum oxides and things like that. And I took action about that, and I hope this study will trigger something similar on people. With those studies, I think it will be the future of space application. But
a second quick question or comment. Do you think educational institutions like universities should actually read your report and think about their future teaching?
Their future teaching
their future,
about...
I mean, the program, what they are teaching. If they would like to teach about the future space of VLEO, you have a list of things you have to teach, basically.
Yes, I will think about this right now. First a few seconds and then answer. Yes, I think this should definitely be done because, like, my observation right now about my studies as well and what I hear from people also, so it is more in the most common areas of space applications. So these fields are usually not very exciting for students because they are looking for a career opportunities and they want to improve their knowledge on those career opportunities where they can earn money mostly. Since this does not bring money right now, it is not the priority of the students. So we should inform the students about the future technologies first, I guess you were moderating the session in the morning, but the hype cycle example. So the one, we should be teaching the technologies that will be in use in the following 10 years, not in the next 2 years or something. They will, because the hype cycle, they would already be at the end of the hype cycle. So that should be the change, I would say.
so much more rich and mobile than the university. So usually, actually, industry does all the stuff much more before the university even is getting there. There are few opportunities and certain historical gaps, like CubeSat was filling one, and then you have a huge boom of different kinds of innovation. But usually, industry drives this area very, very strong. But yes, thank you very much.
Applause for the forward-looking answers. Thank you. Excellent presentation. Next, I'm under the impression that using real planetary surface data in VR and AR is cancelled, right? If the presenter is here, stand up. If not, we'll continue with the next one. So we'll welcome Aditya Savio-Paul, who will talk to us about e-sailors, the doctoral network. Please tell us more.
And don't we need you apply to the doctoral positions of this network. There's like a huge amount of money for all the students who apply.
Thank you, Jan. Yes, as discussed with one of my other space colleagues, how do you get people to a space education meeting, offer them a lot of money, and I hope by the end we can all be sure that there is some money in this project. It all needs your application. But first day, last presentation, I think that's always a challenge, and is that why we are not in space? Because it's challenging and life doesn't get boring too soon. For that, this is one of the projects which has been in the works for over 3 years now, but the study has been going on for about 10 years, and now it's the time when we can actually hand it over to doctoral students to lead the way and show us how it's done. A mission which is very student-centric, called the Electric Solar Wind Sail, and it goes on that all of you are wind sailors or solar wind sailors. This project got funded through the Marie Curie Actions Doctoral Network, and it talks about trying to travel the solar system in novel ways, and one of the ways which you're probably hearing a lot around on different missions and different presentations already is using the electric solar tether, which is supposedly kilometers long of ultra-thin metallic wire, which will be interacting with the solar wind and will try to propel itself away from the Earth if you charge it positively. And if you charge it negatively, then it would also be used as a plasma break for deorbiting satellites, which are currently in the orbit. So some solution from the population of the LEO can also be solved using this technology, right? And the goal is more towards making the future of space travel more sustainable. So we are reducing the onboard mass, onboard propellant, so that we can actually move further from certain planets which are currently restricted by our traditional space propulsion technologies. As a small example, we have what we call as the chemical propulsion, which is an internal tank which uses some kind of fluid or air to move. The electric propulsion, light sail, are the traditional ones which are helping spacecrafts move through the solar system and even beyond at the moment. But of course, they do carry some form of weight, which is restricting us to move further than some of the planets which we'll see in the future slide. However, by putting extremely light tethers on small spacecrafts would enable us to reduce the onboard mass and also hopefully be able to move from what we call as the LEO demonstrations or lower Earth demonstration missions to actually missions that would utilize the solar sail and move further and investigate other planetary bodies. From a vision point of view, the science looks very straightforward in simple English, but when you do it on math, it really gets complicated. But that's the challenge that you would be solving, and that's why we are inviting you to apply to this program. From a diagrammatic explanation, the solar wind contains plasma ions, an electric tether would interact with it, and if the spin plane of the satellite aligns well with the solar wind, then we'll be able to propel further in space. Simple explanation. That's what we wrote in the proposal, got rejected, wrote it again, got rejected, third time got accepted with some money to offer. Right. Now this picture is blurred on purpose. Based on your efforts, it will probably get more focused with time. But so far, the current status is that the solar sail does not go beyond 5 AU. Beyond Jupiter, it starts to lose its momentum, it starts to lose the influence with which it's able to propel itself, for which the electric sail actually would help us to go beyond 5 AU and potentially beyond the heliosphere, due to which we'll be able to also navigate beyond the influence of the sun as well, using the momentum that it has been generated. Right. So for this, European Union thought it's a really novel idea and helped us to investigate this entire mission scope by offering 15 doctoral positions, and they're all categorized into developing a mission design for in-space demonstrations, so moving out of lower Earth orbit missions and going beyond investigating the moon, small bodies, and also characterizing the solar wind, which comes under the planetary exploration track. We are able to develop more advanced propulsion, which is away from traditional propulsions like chemical and solar sails, but using more tether harnessed propulsions. This would be also good to reduce the size of the spacecraft, so you can actually launch more CubeSats and nanocrafts rather than one rocket carrying one big washing machine sized spacecrafts, but you can actually go smaller to CubeSat and nanocraft scales. And moreover, all of this involves a lot of open source research, a lot of repeatable research and recognizable research, for which it's not just you who's doing the research, but an entire community that's been able to develop this sort of a mission that is helping us to sort of explore other planetary bodies as well. The consortium, which solves also other comments from the previous presentations, was that this consortium is something that we're very proud of, which includes the university and academic institutions, as well as includes, has identified and includes industry collaboration as well. So the project is written in a way that the doctoral students would actually be placed at a host institution in an academic setting, but they will also have secondments which would put them directly in collaboration and actually in-house with the industry, so that they can realistically develop the methods that they're doing, find business ventures, be entrepreneurial, and possibly bridge the gap that comes between academic and industrial applications. The mission and the project is being coordinated at the University of Tartu at Tartu Observatory, which is actively working on recruitment right now. Something to show that this is pan-European, which means that it's not just consolidated in one country itself. The students, the doctoral candidates, will have the possibility to move through each of these universities, each of these companies, so they get the exposure. They're able to develop the mission in a way that it is intended to, and using all the tracks, we should be able to, in the end, develop a mission that is able to be launched at a point of time when the scientific objectives are made clear. Just to show that this is not just any other project which has been funded and is static at the moment. We have well-defined work packages where institutes like University of Tartu is doing the mission design and configuration for the mission. KTH is doing the mission and science leadership. Dresden in Germany is working on the propulsion design. Alto, which is also participating university where we are right now, is working on the platform design, something which their presentations have highlighted at large scales. We also have Italy coming in with the software and modeling at University of Pisa. In Latvia, we have Riga Technical University doing the dissemination, and University of Pisa having 2 work packages. There will be another university, Ventspils, which is also hosting PhD students. So even Latvia is heavily involved. Right, just to show a small concept of what this technology is possible of doing, we investigate or ride the solar wind, where we are able to possibly characterize what kind of effects, what kind of plasma interactions are we able to have. So that forwards solar sciences and also gives us a better criteria of what's happening with the sun. This is possible to, at the moment, the science is very well defined for lower Earth orbits, where we've had launches like S-Cube and Foresail, and in good positivity that when Foresail tries to unreel their tether, then we will have some success or unsuccessful stories from S-Cube. So the science is really strong. We have both sides of the coin. We know the success rates, we know the unsuccessful rates. Now we just need to move out from the low Earth orbit, possibly to the lunar orbit, characterize the solar sail, and also study the moon. From there we can move on to the asteroid belt, which is a well-established project at Tartu Observatory using the multi-asteroid touring concept. Moving forward, at the moment, the current junction at propulsions is by Jupiter, but we can move forward. And given now we have had 3 interstellar objects which have already entered the Earth and entered the inner solar system and have moved out, possibly this would be one of the propulsion techniques which would be able to catch up to those interstellar objects as well. Right. And as a part of the education sector, this is equally as important from the mission, whereas from the education side as well. We hope that this mission brings in a foundational understanding of propulsion and mission design in the European Foundation itself. So it caters to the European market and then moves outwards. With the industrial collaborators, we will have back and forth and a general understanding of how the industry can contribute to the academic needs, which is also comes in that they would be directly contributing with the doctoral program, which makes it even more innovative and relevant. And in the long run, it should become a sustainable project as well. Boosting the research and innovative capacity, we would envisage that either the industry moves out of it through spin-offs, through entrepreneurial mindset, or the doctoral students actually move forward into the industry as well to develop this technology. And of course, given that it is an international project, we are looking for internationalization by default. Right. To conclude, yes, we have a science mission and we have allocated funding. So all we need is your applications for us to be able to invite you to this mission. That's what students need. They need science, they need challenges, and they need money. We have all 3 at the moment. So use it till it lasts. We also have a poster, so you're more than welcome to come and discuss. And Tartu Observatory has a booth where we can discuss this forward in person as well. With that, thank you for your attention.
Questions? Comments? Excellent presentation, and at least I would like to promote these PhD positions also at our university. That would be a great opportunity to continue career development. So now we have 5 minutes time to discuss overall. Would you like to have some reflections of all the presentations before going to the poster session? I thought it was a really inspiring session, and lots of facts, and not just fun, but scientific facts, how to engage us all to new visionary futures of the space economy. Thank you.
It was interesting to hear from Jan that people move to industry and then industry doesn't care what's happening in academia because it feels it's not progressing. I think it's projects like these that are actually bridging the gap. So when these projects are written, they are written in a way that the industry recognizes what's happening at the academia. And in this case, an academic institution is leading the project, which means that it gets to develop first and then go forward to the industry. So it's a back and forth, and I think that's where the European mindset is at the moment as well.
I agree, and it's fun to see that there's also funding for these projects, so we're getting backed up, and the vision and strategy, how to do it in practice, how to be successful in the future, not just now, but also into 20, 10 or 50 years. To build the European vision together, as you said. Thank you all. Let's continue during the poster sessions, coffee sessions, and evening dinners, and see you all also tomorrow and on the Thursday. Enjoy.